The medicine has been in the family for a long time, over 100 years today.
This is a story far too complex to tell in its entirety. Although this film is about the many uses of peyote in both the Native American church and modern medicine, it cannot help but to involve the entire scope of the first known people of this continent, the American Indians. Peyote is a mysterious subject matter full of intrigue, hearsay, and misconception. Since the arrival of the first Europeans, peyote has provoked controversy, suppression, and persecution. Condemned by the Spanish conquerors for its satanic trickery, referred to for decades in pop culture as a recreational psychedelic drug, for many academics, it is a little understood psychotropic substance called mescaline, contained in the flower bud of the cactus plant Lophophora williamsii, peyote. A plant that has been used for thousands of years in what is today Texas along the Rio Grande through the Chihuahuan Valley of northern Mexico. For the people you will get to know in this film, peyote is exceptional medicine. For members of the Native American Church, it is revered as a holy sacrament, believed to have been given to man by God for both physical and spiritual healings. People who legally practice peyotism are members of the Native American Church, a pan-Native Christian religion with nearly 500,000 members in North America from virtually every tribe you can name. The Native American Church blends Christian faith and teachings with ancient Native traditions of practice and are among the most cognitive, bright, humble, and noble people I have known. Despite peyote's reputation, these are not drug-crazed people lost in hallucination, dancing wildly in naked revelry. These are highly moral, sober people. Someone you might pass on the street or at the mall. People who may live just down the way. The Peyote Way. Bless you too. Bless you too.
Native American Church, Peyote Road, help on this. This is our Native American Church. Donating from all the tribes and all our nations in this holy medicine. The name for all the tribes and nations.
Grew up around teepees, and then I went into the teepee and I learned from my grandfathers and I learned from all my uncles and my dad and everything. They trained me and taught me how to be a peyote roadman. A peyote roadman is a person that conducts the Native American Church prayer service ceremonies. Put up a teepee, pray. So this has been going on for a lot of years.
Mavihaka. There are many stories about the mother, lost her child, and for her to take this medicine.
The story goes that she was lost in the desert, and that out of exhaustion she laid down on the ground, and the following morning the sun rose, and suddenly she heard these voices speaking to her, and looked around, and it was all the peyote talking to her and saying, you know, woman, partake of me, take me into you, and we will strengthen you, and before you leave this place, gather as much of us as you can and take us back to your people. And I love hearing that story as many times, and I never get tired of hearing it, because it speaks directly to the geographic relationship that this Peyote Way has, and its relationship with the Native American Church today. This is the Nueces River right here. And where we are is here, and this is where all the medicine grows, this way.
Yeah.
But here she is. Here's her forehead, here's where her eyes would be, here's her nose. See her nose?
Yeah.
Underneath her nose, upper lip, her open mouth.
Yeah.
Her chin.
Yeah.
And her underneath her, right here, her neck, all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. You see that woman?
Yeah. Yeah,
She's,
I can see it real good.
yeah. So what that part of that story where she lay down in the desert, you know, she lay down and left her imprint in the dirt, and where her open mouth is where this medicine. So she's eating medicine, you know.
Our path is already set that way, but we never thought we would stop to give testament about this medicine and the Native American Church.
Native American Church, they got a charter and articles of incorporation, October 10th, 1918. Today I'm here in Miranda City, Texas. The home here belonged to Claudio Cardenas Sr. and his wife, Maida. They lived here, and they made friends with the native people that used to do a pilgrimage to come down here to cut medicine and to pray.
Yeah, she was the first licensed peyote dealer anywhere. And she picked up the trade from her mom and dad, Mr. and Mrs. Ezequiel Sanchez of Los Ojuelos, a little town just south of here, about a couple of miles where she was born. And so they weren't dealers back then, before the Native American Church was formed. They were just South Texas peoples that knew how to navigate their way around the peyote gardens and would collect it for the peoples that were coming down this way from Oklahoma and up north.
I had a mother that was very interested in what her father's doing in this ceremony here.
My name is Chief Marvin Swallow. I'm an ordained minister in our Native American Church of State of South Dakota from the Central Council, Fireplace, Roadman, and then later years I made one of the chiefs in our Sundance Circle, our traditional Lakota ways of life and the teachings that go with it, and I'll try to talk about those things and then to pass them on to the future, the younger generations and the future generation, on behalf of our elders and behalf of our relatives, relations, and those ones that were here before us. I always remember 7 generations that were on the earth before us, and I always remember 7 generations of people from the youngest newborn baby up to the eldest elder down top of the earth. We say prayers for them too. All of the ones that are incarcerated behind them iron doors, some of them in treatment centers or halfway houses and jail, locked up behind them iron doors, and some of them are in the hospital. They're in hospital or in recovery places, and some of them in the armed forces, especially the ones in the front lines of the armed forces. They call them the soldier boys and the soldier ladies. So I always remember to pray for them, so they all, when they come home, they have a good mind and good healthy body. In our traditional Lakota ways, they have a vision quest, 4 days, 4 nights without food and water. And the old elder people, they say that one night with this medicine, you could get the same kind of vision and guidance from the spirit of the ones that were here before us. They're called the holy ones. And he said the Lord Savior Jesus Christ was a holy man, the Son of God, and a healer. He said, hey Jesus, come over here, we need your help too. First one, blood on your hand and your inside, and the other your leg, and the other hand on your hand here, and the other leg.
The peyote ceremony begins at sunset and ends at sunrise. Each ceremony has a specific intention announced by the roadman at the outset. In addition, each participant can state their own personal prayers and intentions. The ceremony is composed of prayer offerings with tobacco and cedar.
Bless themselves with the cedar.
Followed by the consumption of the holy sacrament of peyote, accompanied by various songs. Did you get well?
Huh?
Did you get well?
Yeah. Somebody did.
Painting is a reflection of the sky that Amada Cárdenas was born. And what they've done here is they've honored her with her name here in this position all the way across, which represents the horizon or Mother Earth. The star above the A on her name is Venus, the morning star. And these 4 peyote buttons over here to the right are 4 stars in the constellation of the Big Dipper that represent the 4 fountain springs from which our people were born from on the night that the full moon rose and Mother Earth's water broke, and we were born from these springs. Every 8 years since the time that she was born, Venus would be rising on the horizon behind these 4 stars, these Yanawana, the songs that we sing. And when we sing that song, Yanawana, we sing it 4 times, representing each of those springs, the mother waters, the waters from which we were born.
What are those strands of greenery at the bottom?
Those are sprigs that are placed underneath the peyote button, you know, where it sits on the altar. Yeah, could we edit the sprigs, the explanation of the sprigs underneath the peyote button? I think we can pretty much keep everything else. But I'll explain to you what that is off camera if you want to know what it really is. I didn't tell you.
This Native American church got into some trouble due to some non-Indians mixing peyote with drugs, and they got caught by the feds.
Her and her father, they got put in jail for this ceremony. time I didn't see it, that I was doing this political thing.
Because the state of Texas regulates this medicine as a hallucinogenic, and I don't feel that our people need permission from the state.
All they want to do is just be respected a little bit, you know, and that's all.
And we all come here to say thank you for life. Thank you to God that He chose us to have this relationship with this holy medicine.
So the Peyote complex started here in South Texas and moved south into Mexico, and then came back this way once again with a fury through the Virgin of Guadalupe. The Plains Indians picked it right back up as soon as it came across from Mexico, and then that became the Native American Church. But the very foundation, the very beginnings of this culture from thousands of years ago is recorded on a piece of rock art that's still visible and very clearly visible out in West Texas, just north of Del Rio. The rock art contains the elements held within the old peyote complex and the more recent Native American Church ceremony. The rock art talks about a story of a deer that guided the sun and our ancestors out of the underworld and into the light. Upon arrival, the deer takes flight into the sky as Venus, the morning star, and the sun delivers its first ray of light into its heart and kills the deer. And the deer itself, in taking flight, it sacrifices itself to feed the people here on earth. So the winter solstice marks a time when the sun rises in San Angelo, Texas, between these twin buttes. And after 3 days, the sun rises higher and higher and higher again. Every day thereafter, getting stronger and stronger and stronger. But on the day of that sunrise, 40 miles away and 5 hours later, a solar dart appears in a little town called Paint Rock, piercing a deer heart. And so what's happening on Earth as the sun rises and as the solar dart is appearing, the same thing is happening in the sky. The sun is rising above the horizon and killing Venus, the morning star. That's part of the old way that this ceremony started, thousands of years ago. Those events have been taking place for tens of thousands of years. As long as the sun's been rising in the east, it's a long time.
The White Shaman mural is an amazing rock painting produced by hunter-gatherers that were living in the lower Pecos area of Texas a couple of thousand years ago. It's absolutely gorgeous, reds and black and yellows and white that combine to just create this magnificent painting. My hope is that people will come away from this and realize that we have this incredible opportunity to read these pictorial narratives that are thousands of years old, which is unprecedented, and that we can learn and begin to understand the complexity of the people that came before us, that the hunter-gatherers, whether they were wearing fiber sandals and using stone tools, they had the same cognitive capacity that we do. They had the same brain that put a man on the moon.
1975, I came from Montana. I was going to Wind River Reservation, and they brought a man in. He had a blanket, and he was half paralyzed. And they kept giving him peyote, and then they kept doctoring him. They turned him over in the front. They doctored him over here and over here. In the morning time, they got ready to go out, and the guy was running the meeting. His name was Ben Friday. He said, "Hey," he talked to the boys. He said, "Help that old man. Help him get up." He said, "Tell him I'm going to go outside." So some boys reached over to tell him, "Hey, we're going to go outside." And he just kind of hollered. He said, "Hey," he said, "get away." He said, "Don't be touching me." He said, "I can do it." And he got up and he walked out. Yeah, he was paralyzed when he went in, but he walked out in the morning. I seen that. I used to be a skeptic, but when I seen that, I said, wow, this thing is more powerful than I realized.
Making this documentary, it occurred to me that the peyote water bird and the classic medical emblem, the caduceus, are nearly identical. That's remarkable.
Western science has much to learn from the ancient cultures such as the Huichols and peyote-wise people who, as with the Native American Church, have been learning and healing from the medicine for over a century.
We have been conducting psychedelic research at Johns Hopkins University in what has now become the Center for Psychedelic and Consciousness Research since the early 2000s. During this time, we've published a number of the most cutting edge and leading studies that are demonstrating not only the potential safety and potential efficacy of psychedelic therapies.
And some of the myriad of medicinal purposes that peyote has been reported to effectively treat are arthritis, congestion, headache, knee pain, fatigue. It's a tonic for good health. There's also peyote in pregnancy. There's a myth about the pilgrimage to Wirikuta, and in it, these two goddesses become pregnant in Wirikuta, and one of them goes back and shares peyote to the community, and the other one stays in Wirikuta and becomes the goddess of peyote, which they call Wili Ubi. So that got me really interested about peyote in pregnancy. Women who are pregnant are eating peyote. So some Huichol women consume peyote throughout all of their pregnancies. If you go to the shaman early on, and he will fix you, he will help you and your fetus so that you will have a healthy birth. They've been doing this for thousands of years.
So this is a substance that induces physical and or spiritual well-being. So we see a broad interpretation of what a medicine is, which is very different than what we see in the Western medical context, where you look at something that has a specific pharmacological action, right? So we're looking at a broader context here. So there's been some study and some debate within the academic community about where the therapeutic actions of peyote come from.
But essentially, this is proposing that drugs that are Schedule 1 that are provided with breakthrough therapy designation by the FDA be automatically rescheduled to Schedule 2. And the rationale behind that is that, by definition, Schedule 1 drugs are incredibly toxic, highly addictive, and have no known medical use. Breakthrough therapy designation by the FDA is an acknowledgement of an up-and-coming drug that shows a really a high degree of early effect sizes and great potential.
The other piece of this act, in addition to opportunities for regulations around research, is also allowing for the potential of compassionate use, which is allowed for Schedule 2 drugs. So there are some folks out there who might really benefit from this treatment now, and by moving to Schedule 2, this would create the option for some folks in very special circumstances to get access to this treatment.
And I think that there's something really unique going on in that some of the propaganda that has been kind of pushed on psychedelics decades ago is beginning to fall away, and we have the opportunity to have a much more evidence-based discussion about psychedelics, especially as we grow the evidence base.
Texas, this is my dear friend Amada Cardenas, who was the first federally licensed peyote dealer to legally sell peyote to members of the Native American Church. And she was a healer in and of her own right. But a lot of people would go to her place to get peyote, to have their ceremonies on her property, and they still do today.
Claudio Sr., Amada's husband, had taken ill, and he was doctored with this peyote, and it made him well. And so the men who were involved in that doctoring, or that time that it happened, came together and decided they would have a celebration every year thereafter for his healing. And it turned out to be this time of the year during the George Washington birthday weekend. And they would take advantage of their time here by going to the celebration, going into Nuevo Laredo to shop, and just checking out the festivities here in Laredo. And then it started there, and it grew, and then a Friday night meeting was added later on thereafter for Amada herself. So we had a Friday night for Amada and a Saturday night for Claudio. And then Claudio passed away in 1962, but the meetings continued on.
Anthropologist Weston LaBarre contends that mind-altering plants have been used in the New World since the Mesolithic Age. Aboriginals believe that the world is populated with spirits, some good, some evil. Communication with the Supreme Being occurs through spirit powers, which are embodied in plant, animal, and natural forces. The doctrine states that human beings are lost without the help of the spirit guides.
Any man who thinks he can be happy and prosperous by letting the government take care of him better take a closer look at the American Indian.
Henry Ford. The Native American is the only known ethnic group who requires a federal permit to practice their religion. The story of the Native American Church is one of cultural survival, social adaptation, and moral revitalization. At the advent of the reservation period, the Native American adopts the consumption of peyote as a holy sacrament to be a part of their spiritual practice. Prior to being stripped of freedom, able to nourish a natural relationship with the earth, they found no need for peyote to maintain a divine spiritual connection to the Creator. Yet, at the precise chronological moment in history, the American Indian is relegated to an existence of near captivity on the reservation. They embrace in large numbers a practice foreign to them.
I was fortunate enough to meet some Carrizo people many years ago. There was a group of them that came up from Texas, and they went into a Native American church ceremony at the Taos Pueblo, and there were about 5 of them, and they had shirts on. They said, Carrizo Come Crudo, survivors of genocide. And, they don't have songs or anything anymore, but they spoke up in the morning in the ceremony, and they said, we just want you guys to know this came from us originally. The old men at the Pueblo, they told them that. And yeah, I don't know if anybody believed them or not, but it turns out, through my research, they were right. It really did come from them.
Is it possible that ingesting peyote creates a spiritual connection to the spirit world that previously had been attained to the practice of a certain knowledge, belief system of a ceremonial life in a natural setting? Through wisdom gained from challenging and overcoming one's fears, a nurturing of faith in the unknown? Is there a parallel on a fundamental level? At the same moment in history the Native American Church was taking shape, another movement formed, the Ghost Dance. Sparked by the massacre at Wounded Knee, it too was a reaction to the dire limitations created by life on the reservation. Northern Paiute prophet Wojiwab initiated the ghost dance in 1869. 20 years later, Wavoka, a Numu seer, holy man, and prophet, reintroduced the ghost dance. A movement it was hoped would halt the expansion of the white man, a return of the buffalo, into a traditional lifestyle enjoyed before the reservation period.
name's Chevy Fleming, and I'm a Chicano. I live a few miles down the road here. Marvin's my uncle. He asked me to come over here, help him out today. Quanah, he was chief of band of Comanches, and they were the last Comanches to surrender, and their way of life changed drastically. They were put on reservation in Oklahoma. Comanches, they knew about this medicine, peyote. They raided down into Mexico where it grows. They knew about peyote, but they didn't have the ceremony for it. Quanah, he got it from some Lipan Apaches, South Texas, northern Mexico, and it was genocide down there in those days, late 1800s. They were away from their band one day. They came back, everybody was massacred. They wanted to live, they booked it out of there, and so they went to Mescalero Apache, southern New Mexico, and he wanted to learn the ceremony, so they taught it to him. What they said was that it was either their grandfather or their great-grandfather was the first one among their tribe to use this peyote ceremony.
The ceremony featured in this film is in honor of all the July birthdays.
Every pole has a story. Everything has a special meaning.
Everything on the earth and in the sky, we put it all together like it's a sphere.
I would say for our generation and for our young children, we need to try very, very hard to get them into these ways, and they can somehow relearn the culture and be part of it. I wish, you see these young boys, I wish our young people be out here too, a lot of them from back on Navajo Res. So it does interest me, it does concern me what you're doing, exploring, it's good. I think it has good intention.